Welcome to Still a Part of Us. My name is Lee, and today I'm interviewing Jonah, and he has told us a story about his daughter Lydia, who was stillborn at 30 weeks due to a umbilical cord accident. And if you would like to listen to his birth story, please go and check that out. And this is the advice episode. Jonah, welcome. Thank you again for telling us a little bit about Lydia.
You're very welcome, Lee. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, it's almost 6.5 years out. Lay some wisdom on us. What sage advice do you have for us? And I use that facetiously, because nobody ever really thinks that they have this sage advice. But I'm only 2.5 years in this journey, and you're 6.5 years.
Yeah. Advice. So, like we were, I guess, kind of discussing earlier, taking time to actually think about, your spouse and their situation or how they are navigating the loss of your child. I know it gets difficult to actually think about somebody else when you've gone through a tragic experience. It's those two just, usually aren't together. You're usually, thinking about yourself, but being aware that you definitely need to consider your spouse and how they are experiencing the loss. And then making sure that you guys are communicating about that. We had to do that. I mean, it was an effort. It was almost like we had to write reminders to, hey, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? What kind of thoughts are you having, kind of thing. I mean, and that helped us tremendously.
You did mention that you and your wife, Danielle, are quite introverted yourselves. Yeah. And right. What things helped you to sort of break out of that I want to say self-sorrow and help her in her own sorrow as well? You said writing notes.
Yeah, no, great question. First, it was lots and lots of prayer, praying together, having our family and friends pray for us. And then just knowing kind of my natural tendencies, which are to push people away, close off, and just kind of, living inside my head with my own thoughts, knowing that is not the right way to deal with the situation or handle the situation. And especially, now that, at the time we had only been married about 2 years, things were different. Knowing that things were different, I had to act differently, and Danielle had to act differently as well. So it's being able to step back and look at things objectively. How am I handling this? Is this the best way? What can I do different for things to be better? What do I need to do for things to be better? And when I say be better, that doesn't mean to forget and, move on kind of thing. It's how can I still remember my daughter through this situation, but not be crippled with sorrow that I can't go to work, I can't get out of bed kind of thing. So just having the ability to look at things objectively, so that if I see that maybe my wife is having a more difficult time or was having a more difficult time, making sure that I'm making myself available if she just needs me to be there, if she needs whatever aspect of me, whether it be just physical presence, whether it's, physical touch, whether it's words of affirmation, kind of using the love languages things to make sure that she knows that
you're in it
that
together.
I'm there, and invested, and going to do whatever I can do. So that's kind of like the spouse aspect and what worked for us.
I really appreciate what you said. The situation is different. How do I need to change? Like, how do I need to be different in this situation? A lot of people don't understand that. Like, the situation is happening to me, to you, but is also happening to your spouse. Like you are experiencing it together but separately, and knowing that you need to be different in this situation, in this relationship. I thought that really spoke to me, that what you said. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think a kind of another aspect, as far as, and we touched on this earlier also, is being able to filter what people say to you. You had a great point that, there is very seldomly going to be somebody who purposefully is going to be malicious towards you with words that they say. The reality is that they just don't know. They haven't experienced it. They're just trying to say what they have heard before, to try to provide some kind of comfort, to cover an awkward situation, because it's not easy.
No,
talking about your son that passed away, or your daughter that passed away. That's never an easy subject to talk about, and people just are caught off guard, or because they haven't been in the situation before, they just say whatever kind of comes to mind. And I think at first, kind of in my grief process, I'd said that anger was kind of one of the main things in my grief process, that there would be times when people would say things that would rub me the wrong way, and I would kind of hold on to that, and which obviously wasn't good. But at some point, I was able to realize that the thing of my grief was anger, and that I needed to let things go if somebody happened to say something that didn't make any sense, and just didn't help the situation or whatever, just in one ear and out the other. So having that ability, I think, is really important, because people are definitely going to say things that may come across as hurtful, but most likely those were not the intentions.
Yeah, the intention is not to hurt you, but the delivery is just poor.
Yeah.
It's not. You never want to practice. You never want to practice these situations, but when you're faced with it, sometimes it's just like, oh, what do I say? What do I say? So
yeah, very difficult. And even being a father who has experienced it, and then talking with somebody else who has experienced a loss, it's still, when you hear it and you've experienced it, it's many times hard to come up with words that aren't going to be hurtful, that are going to be supportive or helpful, trying not to evoke negative emotions and all that kind of stuff. So you've got really a small window or space of words that would be appropriate and supportive and helpful. So it's not easy. So kind of flipping the tables around, from being the one who's receiving those comments to the one who has to give to somebody who has experienced it.
I fully agree. It is a quagmire of words.
Quagmire.
Is there anything that you bought, like a personal totem, or a personal something that you did personally for yourself to help you to heal, or to feel close to your daughter Lydia? Or is there something that you did for yourself?
I did a couple things. I think the thing that I started first is on the actual funeral home website. They had like a memorial where you could write notes, and I would write like every single night. Did that for a while. I don't remember how long it was. And then my grief process thing with the anger, that just kind of I had a lot of anger issues that kind of got to my head, and I stopped doing that. And then a good family friend of ours got me a necklace that it has like a dog tag and a cross on it, and has her name on it. So I have that. I keep that with me pretty much all the time. I mean, I will never forget, my daughter.
Yeah.
But we have, pictures of her up in our home, and I have the necklace that I wear, and we have, I'm sure you've probably heard of the bears, Molly Bear, I believe is what it's called.
Bear. where it's weighted, right?
Yeah.
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 Did you
Yeah.
guys get yourself? Did you get a Molly bear?
So my cousin, who actually had experienced a stillbirth, she was actually full term. This was probably in 2012, so that was only like 2 years before us. She had gotten us a bear because apparently there was such a long wait list to get an actual Molly bear. She got a bear and made one herself and sent it to us. So it was phenomenal gift.
Yeah.
It was exactly what we needed because the absence of your child once you leave the hospital and you don't take your child home with you, the absence of being able to hold them it's difficult.
It is.
It's very difficult.
It is.
Surprisingly. So we had a bear. We had a bear from a cousin that weighed the same as our daughter, and it was nice to be able to hold her and feel like that we still were able to feel our daughter by holding our bear that weighed the same.
And that is such a special gift. Like the thought of your cousin to actually do that herself for you, that is an extra special.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it was.
and the going back to the dog tags with Lydia's name on them. Do you wear them, or do you have that in like you said you have it with you at all times?
I have it with me most of the time. Yeah.
Most of the time.
So yeah, for work, sometimes they kind of get in the way of what I do and that kind of stuff. So I keep them in my truck. I have them in my truck at all times when I'm not wearing them.
Well, that's nice. That's like
Yeah.
having that especially wearing something that is always pressing and you could always feel it, even though it might be in the back of your mind. It's always there with you. So
yeah.
Anything else that you would like to impart on us?
I mean, I think
Don't feel pressured.
yeah. No pressure. Yeah, it's the understanding that people process grief differently and at different speeds, I think is very important. It's just the same as people have different personalities and handle things or situations differently. And truly, like my wife and I probably couldn't be any more opposite in how we handle things, but we were able to kind of use our differences to balance each other out. And having an open mind, being able to think about the other person and what their needs are is really important, so that as a couple or as a family, you guys can proceed or can move forward with still having, the memory of your child with you. So
Wonderful. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and
Yep.
thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for sharing your love for your daughter, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you, Lee. You guys are making a huge difference, and it will impact lives in many ways and for many years. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.